Well, hi. It's good to see you all, and thanks for joining us today here with the various uh, devotions that we have today here. I just want to take time to say hi. Thanks for your responses. Many of you respond to the devotions, and I know that they have been encouragement to many. They're an encouragement to me. I love watching and listening to people as they do their short devotionals. And so I hope you're having a good day, even in this strange and weird time. I was talking to a friend today, and he said, these are really weird times. And that's true. But as I look at things, I was looking at a verse actually last week, and it just struck me how much it reminded me of what's going on in our world. We all know what this is, right? It's a mousetrap. And if you come along and you spring it, you go like that, and you hit it, and it goes off. So, yeah, well, that reminded me of the verse we're looking at. It talks about snares, talks about things that do in our camp in Colorado. We used to teach people how to make traps and snares just in the wilds as a survival technique, and they had to make them and practice with them. Here's a couple we did something similar here. Here on the screen here, you'll take a look and you'll see this is called a spring pole snare, and you get it, and you've seen it probably on TV. Some of them far more elaborate than this, but actually these work pretty well. They don't always snatch things way high up in the air, but they're pretty effective in catching small animals. You want to do that. One time we were in at the end of a camp, and at the end of the camp, we always tried to make sure all the snares were taken down because we didn't want to catch anything, of course, that were not needed and just helpless. Well, we had a new camp starting, and kids got there, and right away one guy started walking out through the woods, very interested in what's going on, and all of a sudden we hear ah, and we go running out there, and somebody had forgotten to take down one of their spring pole snares, and there, his name was Hunter. He's standing there hopping on one foot up in the air. The spring pole worked. It's a snare, and it can really entangle you. I have another one here. We used to teach, again, something similar to this. It's called a bird snare, and as you see it there, you can see that you set it. It's a hard trigger to do, to get it light enough, but then you put something there, the bird will come along, peck at that or something, and if you have something heavy enough, it knocks it down in the hole. And it is actually a pretty effective snare. If you're in rattlesnake country, you do have to be careful because when it's trapped, you want to make sure that you don't have a rattlesnake down in there first, so you have to be careful. But they're fun. Snares, we get the idea. We know what snares are for. Now, I'm telling you all this is because the verse in Proverbs says this. It's Proverbs 29, verse 25, and it very simply says this: fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Isn't that a magnificent thought? And to remind us, the fear of man will prove to be a snare. The fear of man, putting men in position that they aren't supposed to be. So many times the fear of man is elevating men to the position that God should have in our life, that somehow they hold more power. We're more concerned about what they think about us or the power they hold over us. And so we give into them, or we do things or say things or don't do things because we're afraid of what someone might say or someone might do. Instead of really elevating God in our life. And I know that many of us at times have fallen into that, probably all of us at some time or other. Here, the writer of Proverbs is just reminding us, look, to live in that way is a snare. It entangles you. It will trip you up. It will trap you. Living in that way, living in thinking that somehow men have great power. Now, I know that is true, and as we just think about fear of man and everything that goes with that, I want to relate it also just in terms of the fear of what's going on, because I think even here as we think about what's going on with COVID-19 and our isolation and quarantine. I mean, there are all sorts of things that can bring fear to our mind, and it can be fear of man, fear of what people say might happen, or the saying what can happen economically or in terms of health. I mean, there's things on all sides, and you have to, and people live in fear of what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to our country, and they're all good things, but what I'm afraid is that sometimes we get caught up in those things so much that we're afraid of what man or our health or our economics are. And that can be a trap, can it? And so, first of all, the writer of Proverbs here is saying, look, don't fall into that snare. Don't fall into that trap. Instead, he says this, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Isn't that a great phrase? If we trust in the Lord, and in these times, these things, and they are hard, but he says, look, trust in the Lord, not in the circumstances, not in the things that man brings, not in the things that are around you. They're real and they're hard, but look, our trust needs to be in the Lord God. Because you see, he is the one who has our best interests at heart. He is the one who is ultimately over everything. And we don't know what all is going to happen with this coronavirus, but I do know that God is bigger than that. You know, Harold talked about the immunity that we have, really, in terms of what Christ has done for us. There's a bigger picture here. So he says, trust God. Don't give in to the fear of things, because that just entangles. In fact, here he says, whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. And I looked that up, and it's a phrase again that talks about a high place that's safe, that's like an impregnable fortress. It's a place you can be kept safely in. Proverbs 18:10 says this, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe. That's the idea of whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. God is that refuge, that strength we talked about the other day, that rock. Instead of being caught in the snares of things going around us, we need to be really saying, okay, God, I may not understand, but I do trust you. I do trust that you love me. I trust that you have my very best interests at heart. I trust that I don't have to give in to the fear of men, because you know what? Those things are a trap. But the trust of God, trusting in God, is powerful. The Geneva Bible translates this verse this way. He who fears men more than God falls into a snare and is destroyed. Let's take time today even to again remember to trust God. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are things we wish were going on that were different, but yes, God is absolutely trustworthy. And so let's trust him instead of getting caught up in those old snares. Trust the Lord will lift you up today, encourage your heart, and we'll see you next time.